systems of equations by substitution, which is what we did yesterday, where you take the x equals or the y equals and you substitute it into the other equation. And now today we're going to do elimination. Okay? So real quick, just to make sure we're good with our combining like terms, on number 1, 5x plus 6x would be
11x.
11x, good. 7y minus 7y would be
0.
Just 0. Negative 2y plus 2y would be 0 as well. So notice that in number 2 and number 3, the variables eliminated. Okay, when it becomes 0, it is eliminated. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, yesterday we had a system of equations. We had 2 equations, but at least one of them, whether it was the top or the bottom, had an x equals or a y equals, and we used that to substitute it into the other equation. Well, notice that here we don't have that. Okay, we don't have an x equals or a y equals. Now, what you could do is you could take one of these equations and you could solve for x or for y, and then plug that in and do what we did yesterday, but that's a little more work. If they already look like this, where you have your x, then your y equals, and then another number, you can use what's called elimination. And so the way elimination works is we want to look this way. You're used to looking at equations going across, but we want to look at the x's, at the y's, and then at the constant that's over on the other side. All right, so when we're doing that, this is 1x, okay, and 3x. This is negative 1y and positive 1y. So if we add these 2 equations together, going straight down, 1x plus 3x would be 4x. Negative 1y plus 1y is going to be 0 equals, and 18 plus 6 is going to be 24. Now we solve that by dividing by 4, and that's how we get x equals 6. But we don't stop there, right? Because the solution is an ordered pair. If you get one number, you're going to be able to get the other one. So in our parentheses, x is 6, we need to find y. So how do you suppose we can figure out y now that we have x? Plug it in, just like little plugins, the Glade plugins. All right, so and you can use either equation. It does not matter which equation you choose to use. I'm going to use the first one. I'm going to write down x minus y equals 18, and I'm going to substitute my 6 in here for x. So I'm going to have 6 minus y equals 18. I'm going to solve this for y. This is a positive 6, so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides of my equal sign. I'm going to bring down my negative y equals, and 18 minus 6 is 12. Yes, good. You got to divide by that negative 1. You can't leave it as a negative. So then we end up with y equals negative 12. So if y is negative 12, you come up here and you put negative 12. And that is how you solve a system of equations where you don't already have an x equals or a y equals. Okay? It's not very difficult. Okay? You have to look vertically, not horizontally. Okay? So let's try the next one. What does it look like to you is going to eliminate? The x's or the y's? The x's. Now, in order to eliminate, we have to have, in front of the variable, you have to have opposite numbers. You have to have a 1 and a negative 1, or a 5 and a negative 5, or a 7 and a negative 7. Okay? So we're going to add these together. So 1x and negative 1x is going to cancel. Negative 3y and positive 8y is positive 5y. Negative 17 plus 52, 35. Divide by 5. Y equals 7. Okay, so we set up our ordered pair, put the 7 where the y would go, and then we need to find x. You can pick either one of these equations. I'm going to go ahead and start with the top. So x minus 3, instead of y, I'm going to plug in my 7. Equals negative 17. So I have x minus 21 equals negative 17. Add the 21. x equals 4. So they intersect, or there's the solution to that system is 4, 7. 4, 7. When x is 4, y is 7 for both of those equations. Okay? All right, let's look at number 6. What's going to eliminate here?
Y negative 1.
So 2x plus 3x? 5x. 9 plus 16?
5x equals
25. Divide by 5. And x equals 5. Okay, so that's my x. Now I have to find my y. So I substitute it in. I'm going to use this one right here. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 plus y equals 9. That would be 10 plus y equals 9. Subtract 10. Very good. Y equals -1. Very good. Okay, so I think you guys seem to have it pretty good when they're ready to eliminate. It's pretty easy. Okay. So what happens? Let's skip number 7 because those will eliminate right away, right? So we're just gonna skip. That's another one, just like the previous few. Let's look at number 8. What happens here? Because the -4x plus the -4x is not 0, it is -8x. So that doesn't help us out there. And 8y and -5y is 3y. So, suggestions. Nicholas. Yes, let's multiply one of these equations by a -1 because if we do that, we'll get a positive 4x and that will cancel with our -4x. And as long as you multiply everything in that equation by that -1, you're good to go. But you can't just multiply some of it. It's the distributive property. So -1 times -4x, 4x. -1 times 8, -8y equals -1 times 32, -32. Some people will do the x and the y and they'll forget the number on the other side of the equal sign, and then it messes it all up. Excuse me. So don't forget that. Okay? Bring down this one, the second equation. I would just copy it down underneath. And now we're good to go. We're right back to where we were a minute ago. Okay? So all we did was multiply by -1. 4x plus -4x is going to cancel. -8y plus -5y is a -13y. -32 plus -7 is a -39. Divide by -13. And y equals positive 3. Y equals positive 3. So make sure you put that in the correct spot. The y is in the second position there. Okay? And then we have to find the x. Now, for finding the x, you can use any of the equations you have here. You can use this one, you can use this one, or you can have this, use that one, which is the revised version of the first one. Any of them will work. I don't know. Which one do you want to use? First, second, or third one? Okay, we'll use the third one. So 4x minus 8, and then instead of y, we're going to plug in 3 equals -32. So 4x minus 24 equals -32. All right, we're going to add 24 to both sides. So 4x equals -8. Divide by 4 on both sides, and x equals -2. Good.
So when you have the equations, at least one of the paired equation things have to cancel out?
Correct.
Okay. And it just needs to be whichever number, like that will make it the number you need it to be.
Right.
Okay.
So looking here at number 9, we have 6x and 6x. That's pretty close to being ready to cancel out. We just need to make one of them be a -6x. And we can do that like we did on number 8 by multiplying by -1. That doesn't matter. I'm going to do the bottom. You could do the top if you want. It doesn't matter. So that would be -6x positive 8y -6, right? Copy down the other one. Don't get them mixed up. The 6x minus 9y equals 3. Okay, we're adding these. The 6x's will cancel. 8y and negative 9y is a negative 1y or a negative y. Negative 6 and 3, or negative 3. Positive 3. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Divide by negative 1 and you get y equals 3. Okay, so if y is 3, you need to find x. So you can pick, I need some more room. All right, y is 3, so I'm just going to use the top one. 6x minus 9, and then in place of the y, I'm going to put my 3. So 6x minus 27 equals 3. Add 27. So 6x equals 30. Divide by 6. X equals 5. 5, 3. Okay, are we pretty good on that? So we see the type where the variable can eliminate right away because we have opposite numbers. We see the type where the terms with the variable have the same exact number, so we can get it to be opposites by multiplying one of the equations by negative 1. Now look at number 10. What are your thoughts on number 10? Something that we can do here that will allow us to use the elimination method. Huh? Multiply by negative 3. If you multiply that by a negative 3, you'll get a negative 3x, and then you have 3x, and then that will cancel. You can multiply by any number that you want, as long as you multiply all the way through the equation by that number. And then you haven't changed the equation. Still the same. So, negative 3 times x, negative 3x. Negative 3 times 5, negative 15y. Negative 3 times 19,
Negative 57.
negative 57. Okay. Copy the other one down. You are probably going to want to do your work on another sheet of paper and just put your answers on your worksheet. Okay, the x's will cancel. Negative 15 and negative 2 is negative 17y equals negative 51. Divide by negative 17 and y equals 3. Okay, so y is 3. So let's find x by plugging it in. You can use any of them. I'm going to use this one right here. So 3x minus 2 times 3, because that's what y is, equals 6. So 3x minus 6 equals 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and I'm going to get 3x equals 12. Divide by 3, I'm going to get x equals 4. Very good. Very good. Okay, number 11. Suggestions on number 11.
Multiply by 4y. No, 4.
Multiply which one by 4?
The top.
Okay, yes, you would multiply the top by 4. That's one way you could do it, because then when you do, well, of course you start here. You'll get negative 4y, and then you have positive 4y. It will cancel, right? Mm-hmm. And then don't forget to go here. We're going to skip that one, because we don't really, you can come back and do it later if you want, but we're running short on time. Let's look at the next one, number 12. What are some thoughts here? The top by
Negative 2.
negative 2. That'd give you negative 10 and 10? Sure. You could also multiply the top by what?
Negative 7. Positive 7.
By positive 7, right? If you multiply the top by positive 7, then you have 7y and negative 7y. So either way is fine, okay? We're going to skip that one. What about 13?
Positive 3.
Where?
Top.
Multiply the top by positive 3, that would give us a negative 9 and a negative 9.
Negative 3.
We don't want both negatives.
Oh, negative.
So if you multiply by negative 3, that'll give you a positive 9x and a negative 9x. Okay? So we're not doing anything different here, right? Okay? Let's look at number 14. Tell me what you think about number 14. What are your suggestions? We are going to have to multiply them both. And so Nathan says if we multiply the bottom by 5, the top by 3, by what? Negative. Yeah, you got to have one negative. That's what we're going to do. So here we go. We're going to work this one out. Okay, it's not any different. We're going to have to multiply both equations. Distribute for both equations. Okay, so negative 3 times 5x is negative 15x. Negative 3 times 4y is a negative 12y. Equals
Positive 90.
positive 90. Good. Okay, now let's distribute on the bottom. 15x
minus 45.
minus 45y equals what?
Negative 90.
Negative 90. Okay?
So 2 of them.
Yeah. All right. So our x's are going to eliminate. Negative 12 and negative 45 is a negative 57. Y equals 90 plus negative 90? 0. Go ahead and put 0. Now let's keep solving. I know it looks weird because there's a 0 over there. But we still know how to get rid of that negative 57 by dividing by negative 57. And so y equals what?
0.
Y equals 0. All right, so you go to where the y goes and you put your 0. Now let's find x. I'm going to just use that first equation. You can use any of the 4 equations. So 5x plus 4, instead of y, I'm going to put 0, equals negative 30. 5x plus 0 equals negative 30. Okay, so I don't need that, do I? 5x equals negative 30. Divide by 5. And x equals negative 6. Very good. Very good. So that's the only other way that you will have. You will have where you might have to multiply both by a number. Okay? There are more examples in your lesson, but we're limited on our time. The only difference with 16 and 17 is that just like on yesterday's work, instead of asking for the solution, meaning the x and the y, it's simply asking for just one of them. So listen here, on 17, let's just discuss something real quick. Oh, 16, I'm sorry. On 16, it says, what is the y coordinate of the ordered pair? So if we want to know the y, would we want to eliminate the y? No, we would want to try to eliminate the x, which in this case, it's set up perfect. So you can just go through and do that. On number 17, it says, what is the x coordinate? So since we want to know the x coordinate, we don't want to eliminate that. So you would want to try to eliminate the y, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're not going to work all the way through, but what would we do to set this one up so that we can eliminate the y's?
Multiply.
Multiply the bottom by 2.
The bottom by 2,
And
the top by 5. You're going to get a negative 10y and a negative 10y.
Negative 5.
Either one can be negative, right? Either the 5 or the 2, but not both, or you're going to be back in the same boat again, right? Okay? All right, perfect. All right. So you can work through that one, or you can start working on one of them on your homework.